One thing we use when we build our custom hats is called the conformateur and familien, and what we do this for is to get the exact measurement of your head. Build the hat to your head, we take that and we trace it and cut it right out of cedar, so we have an exact copy of your head for you to store in the hat. So when you're not wearing the hat, it's being stored on your head. You know, the trickiest part about this is every piece of felt's a little bit different. So it isn't like, oh, you do step 1, 2, and 3 for 2 minutes, so on and so forth. Every piece of felt's a little bit different. So it's definitely not an exact science in building the hats. And a custom-made hat will have about 6 to 8 hours in building one hat, but because of the heating and cooling processes, that's over the course of a week. If you're going to be using the hat a lot, it's better to wait and buy the best quality you can, because it's a tool just like a saddle or your boots or your spurs. If it's going to be used harder to get a better quality, if it's just going to be used, you know, every once in a while, you know, a lower quality's okay. The other thing too, when we're building the hats, all the hair on the top of the hat we do anti-clockwise, and on the bottom of the hat we do it clockwise, and that's so when we go to finish this edge, the top is going anti and the bottom's going clockwise. So that's always the same way you would brush the hat as well. So anti-clockwise on the top. And then clockwise on the bottom. Usually it's kind of a bad habit, lots of people do it, is to grab their hat directly by the crown here. But what that does is breaks down the felt and kind of mushes the crown closer together. It's always best to grab it at the front and the back of the crown to take it on and off. The buckle is always on the left-hand side, and the reason is when a knight would go into battle, his lady fair would give him a plume or a feather out of her hat. Well, most swordsmen were right-handed, so they'd always put the plume on the left, and that's why still today we put the buckle on the left-hand side. The bow in the back of the hat. Have you all heard the term "mad as a hatter"?
Yeah.
Well, that came from hat makers because they used to use mercury in the stiffening process. Would get mercury poisoning and start to lose muscle control. So everybody said they were as mad as a hatter. Well, the government in the States then said, well, you have a hazardous material in there, so you have to have the skull and crossbones in your hat. Well, who's going to buy a hat if it has, you know, caution, deadly material? So that's where the bow came from, is it was supposed to be a stylized skull and crossbones. So that way they still kept the government happy and still sold hats.